Welcome to Sik Baggers YouTube channel. I'm Steve, and today, yes, we have another exhaust video for you. Today, we're going to be installing the Krome Werks 2-in-1 Outlaw. So anyway, you may have heard about the Krome Werks, maybe you haven't. Maybe you've seen it, you've done a little research on it, but you're still on the fence. Hopefully after today's video, you will leave and you'll be able to make an informed decision on whether or not this pipe is right for you. Now we're going to be installing this on a 2023 Road Glide ST117 back here. This is going to be part of our stage one. You're going to have an open air cleaner, which we already have on the bike. It's the S&S Teardrop Stealth that's on over there. We're going to be installing the full exhaust system from Khrome Werks. And then of course, we'll be putting a tune on this bike later, and that'll give us our full stage one. But I'm super stoked about getting it on this bike today because I have heard this pipe and it was on a stock bike and it sounded amazing. Now in today's video, I'm not going to dive deep off into horsepower and torque and all this stuff. If you want to get rid of your quiet exhaust that came on your bike, or maybe you're just not happy with the exhaust that you have on your bike and you want a good looking pipe and you want one that sounds amazing, then check out this Khrome Werks. You're going to get yourself some anti-seize and you will need some medium strength Loctite. If you've owned your Harley for more than a month, you should absolutely know that Harley Davidson and Loctite are best friends. And I'll put a link in the description to everything that we're going to be using today down below. So from here, we're going to grab this box, take it over to the workbench over there. We're going to open it up and we're going to see what we got. Yeah, Jesus, good. Yeah. Magic. So we have everything laid out here on the table that comes inside that box. There's one thing I want to mention. This tip does not come with the exhaust system. This is sold separately because they have different tips. So they want you to choose your exhaust and then they want you to choose your tip. We do have the black chrome pipe and we got some black chrome heat shields here. You will get all of the brackets. You will get these copper washers with these bung plugs. Those go in. We'll cover all that in just a second. And you will get a new set of gaskets, which is amazing to see because I swear every time I open up a brand new set of exhaust, there are no gaskets in there. So you want to lay all your stuff out and make sure that you have everything that's supposed to be inside that kit before you get started. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of these slip-ons. You got an exhaust clamp right here and you got two bolts right here at the top. These are going to be 1/2 inch. We're going to take these out. You can go ahead and take this chrome piece out right here, the silver piece, it's the hanger bracket, and then the rubber piece too, because this is going to be a 2-in-1, it's going to be coming out the right side, so this side will not be utilized. This rubber piece right here, just simply push it towards the front of the bike, just like that, and pop that out so we can get rid of that. If you look right here where the slip-on goes into the pipe, you'll see this bracket. Right below here, you're going to grab yourself a Deep Well 15, and we're going to take this off. You don't have to take it all the way off, just make sure it's all the way loose like that. You're gonna move to the back of the bike, you're gonna give this a little twist and kind of try to spin it a little bit. If we can get that to spin and break loose, great. And we got that slip on off. Now when you're trying to get these off, maybe you've got an older bike or one that's seen a lot of rain and humidity and stuff like that, this pipe can be seized up on this pipe pretty good. Even though you have this loose and these off, this side over here is pretty normal to be difficult to get off. You can jump on Amazon, Harbor Freight, wherever, get you some of these rubber strap wrenches, and I'll show you how I use this to get this off. A lot of guys will just grab the back of this exhaust and just yank and crank and push on it, and what you're doing is you're pushing on this header pipe up here, which could be destroying your seals inside your header. Same two bolts, we're going to loosen this one. Got our 2 1/2 inchers. Now this one, we're going to leave this bracket because we're actually going to have an exhaust back here. If you want to pull it out just to kind of get it out of the way for right now, just slide it out. But if you can't get it to break free, sometimes you can just put this on here, and if you can get it to spin, you know it's broke free from that header. So if I put this on here, you see it twist like that, we know that's broke free from the header. So we can get back here, we can pull it and wiggle this one off. So from here, you're going to grab yourself a 5/16, and I like to throw on just a little 3-inch extension on it, and we're going to get our heat shields off. Next thing we need to do is get this right side floorboard off, and these things, if you've never had them off the bike, can be a real pain in the ass to get off, because these two bolts right here have about 85 pounds of blue Loctite on them from the factories. They are going to be 5/16 Allen. Make sure you have a good Allen set of sockets, and a small breaker bar will come in super handy so you don't strip out the gears on your freaking ratchet, because these things suck. You'd swear you're going to break them They're in there so tight. Now once I get them half broke loose, I'll put my ratchet on them. And that's why they suck getting out. Now once you get that floorboard off, you'll be able to go ahead and get this stock heat shield out of the way. You can push down on that brake and slide that thing out. Now we're gonna come over here, we're gonna pop off this left-hand side cover. Right here are gonna be your plugs for your O2 sensors. You're gonna have a gray one, you're gonna have a black one. The easiest way to remember this is back goes the black. So when you're changing these O2 sensors, make sure you grab the one with the black wire and put it on the rear header. So we're gonna unplug these like this. We're gonna have a couple of zip ties that we need to cut. Remember how these lines come down. But you wanna get down there and get those cut. Get that one. Pull this one up. This one here goes through a little plastic piece. You'll look down in there, you'll see them. They're little plastic hooks that the wire just sets in. You just pop them out of that. Now on the side of the transmission right here, you've got this bracket. We're gonna go ahead and pull that. That one's gonna be a 1/2 inch as well. So get you an extension and break this loose and get it off there. Now this will all finish coming off as we're pulling this pipe off, but you want to go ahead and get that loose while we're down here. Go ahead and feel the wire, come up here. We got one more little Christmas tree prong plug that this thing sets in here. Got that one out. Zip tied off to a little sensor. Zip tied off to the sensor down here. Man, I had to fucking unplug that. And finally got it popped off. You can. Now from here we're going to go back underneath the bike to our crossover pipe. You follow this over, you'll see right here you've got a hanger that comes down and a bolt right here. It's going to be a 1/2 inch as well. Just get that hanging bracket off and then we'll take that bracket off later. The actual bracket up there is held on by 2 more screws at the top, and we'll remove those in a little bit. So we're going to loosen this one. It's going to be our number 15 again. We're going to come over to this side of the bike and we're going to just wiggle it back and forth. I'm going to wiggle this side over here till we get it off. So there's a flange on here that holds that exhaust up onto the engine. There's a nut on both sides. Right here, the back two and this one you can usually get with an extension and a 1/2 inch socket. This one I always go to the other side of the bike with a wrench, reach in there and just loosen it. Once you get that loose, you can usually spin those right off with your finger. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to get those nuts, all 4 of the nuts off. 2 in the front, 2 in the rear. I'm going to grab our 1/2 inch wrench, come in from this side. As soon as you get it loose, you can take it off with your fingers. Now we're ready to pull this exhaust off, and this comes off really easy. Down here, I just kind of give this a little pull at the bottom, and it's going to get this bracket off, right? So we got that off. Let's get that thing out of the way. Wires, now that that bracket's out of the way, go ahead and pull your O2 sensor through there. Make sure our flanges are down, just like that. Then we're just going to pull out on the bottom, rotate this backside just a little bit, rotate that front, and it's off. Now we got our old header over here on the table. There's a few things. We have to take off the O2 sensors, we have to take off the flanges, and we have to take off the flange like a snap ring kind of. Now, you can usually take a flathead screwdriver and poke it in here in the edge and walk this around, it'll come off. So if you got a little cheap tool like this, got these on Amazon, I'll put a link down in the description, a little piston ring plier thing. You can put them in there and you can squeeze them apart and pull them off just like that. And you don't take the chance of twisting these when you're trying to do the screwdriver method. Take your tool, Stick it on there, pull it apart. Now these you're going to pull right off. Remember that this grooved edge holds this ring and goes towards the engine. So when we go to put this back on, same thing, make sure you got it the right way. You're going to take an 11/16 wrench and we're going to bust these O2 sensors loose. Usually doesn't take much. We're going to take these out, hold the wire up, twist the wire with the O2 sensor as you unscrew it and take it out. Take our other flange off. Now we can get rid of this piece of junk. Going to bring our new pipe up on the table. So the first thing we're going to do is put our flanges back on, grab our little ring, put it over, and that'll fall into place when you get it up on the bike. Do the same thing back here, put it on. Get our pliers, put that on. Now what I like to do from there is take a couple of zip ties, put them underneath the flange, go around the pipe. And that'll kind of hold that up in place while we're jockeying it back on the bike. Zip ties are cheap. Cut them off when we're done. Now we're going to take our rear O2 sensor. Remember, the black one goes on the back. We're going to take a little bit of anti-seize, not that much. So I basically just dab a little bit on my finger there because that brush makes a mess. We want it on the actual threads, and it just takes a little bit. Don't want to get anti-seize on the sensor itself and all over the nut and everything else. And this stuff can get messy real quick. And I buy it in the big brush can like that because I get so much more for the price, but it can be a lot messier than those little tubes. So if you got the little tubes, you're probably doing better than me. Now this one has a copper ring already on it, so we're going to leave that on there. Tighten that down. Take our 11/16, snug that down. I will put torque specs on the screen if you're interested in those. Usually with these, I just go them to where they're tight. Just give it a little tug like that, and you're good. Now that leaves us with the larger O2 sensor, so we're going to grab the larger plug, the copper ring, and we're going to go ahead and put that in there to block that hole off. Now, you can put anti-seize on those if you want to. I'm sure that these pipes are not coming off this bike for a long time, so I'm just going to go ahead and plug them up. It's going to be a 10mm Allen. So once again, till it's tight, give it a little push. Do the front one, till it's tight, give it a little push. So that's it. Just takes a couple of minutes to take the old stuff off the old pipe, put it on the new one. This pipe's ready to go on the bike. Right here, you got your transmission side cover. Right below that, not the actual two cover bolts, but right below that, you've got two larger bolts that hold this rear transmission side cover on. You want to take those two bolts out. It's going to be a 1/4 inch Allen. Go ahead and dress those two bolts back up with just a little blue Loctite. We're going to be putting them right back in. We've got a side bracket here that's going to go on here using those two bolt holes. Torque specs on the screen. Once again, when you get this pipe up into place, you'll see this bracket already on this header. This is going to go through there with a carriage bolt. So the very next thing we need to do is get these old gaskets out. This is what the gasket looks like. Hopefully you can see right there on the edge that it is concaved. So it's thinner on this side, thicker on the back side. The thick side goes towards the engine. Now, when I'm taking these old gaskets out, I'll use a little precision screwdriver or a little hook thing like this. But you want to get in here and just grab the edge of this thing. Try not to get into the head. And pull it out, just like that. Wipe that port down, just make sure there's nothing left in there. And seating these new ones can kind of be a pain. They have to go in flat, they have to go in straight. So if it's starting to go in crooked on you, do not push it in. You can't push one side in and then the other. And hopefully you can see I got that one seated in there. Has to be perfect all the way around. I'm going to do the rear. Now that gasket can bend and get out of whack pretty easy if you don't take your time putting that gasket in. Now they make actual tools that go on the end of an extension that you can snap on here and push in there. You can use race bearing installers if you got the right size one. And then I think there's a video on YouTube that shows you how to take a carriage bolt and a couple different size washers, and it shows you how to put the gasket in there with that. It's a cheaper way. It's like $3 to make it from, you know, your local hardware store. But if you're having trouble getting that gasket in there straight, just stop, and I would suggest at least getting the carriage bolt and washer system so you can press it gently in. And what you kind of do is you get it seated in there. Don't push one side in deeper than the other. Just try to get it started evenly, and then you take that carriage bolt and washer system and stick it on there, and you just kind of go in a round circle and just wiggle it, and it'll push it into the hole. So we're gonna put this front side in first, then we're gonna pull the back side around. I'm not gonna worry about setting that back side just yet. Try to get the flange turned to where it lines up with the bolts. I do want to go ahead and get this nut on just so that flange doesn't try to come back on me. I can grab my 1/2 inch and my extension, try to get that front one on. You just want to barely get it started just so it holds itself. Then we can pull this around, give it our gentle little pull to get it set inside our gasket. Get our flange and our ring up into place, hold it, get this back nut started. Get my other one started. That back one, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and run it in till it touches the flange. I'm not tightening it by any means. You can actually push on the flange with your fingers on the other side. Go ahead and thumb tighten that one down. The most important thing about running these two nuts in on both of these is doing it equally. So we're gonna do maybe a turn on this one, a turn on this one, turn on this one, turn on this one. You wanna run that thing in equally, because if you jam one side down, you're gonna take the chance of screwing up that gasket. Turn, just back and forth until we get it tightened down. Going to tighten that down until I feel it kind of getting tight. Reach around here with my 1/2 inch, mind your front fender. A little turn. So now we have this clamp here. This sets on top of that L bracket that we installed earlier. I'm going to slide this over into place, lay it right in there. Of course, I've got my jack stand right in the way, so I'm going to take a wrench and hold that down so it doesn't move. Get up in here, get our nut started on the bottom. But you're going to tighten that to 20 to 25 foot-pounds. So we got all 4 of these set to 110 inch-pounds. Now we're good. We're going to route it the same place it was before. We're going to come through here. Come through here. All the way at the bottom of the frame. Pull it back up. And that's going to zip tie here. Once we get the other one in, we're going to push it back through here. Like that. Go ahead and plug that one back in. So this one comes off the back of this, goes around here, goes around the back side of your transmission dipstick, just like it was before. Going to zip tie it here and round it right back in. So we'll add one zip tie here to keep that all pulled together. We'll come back here and we'll plug this rear one in. Now if you use a zip tie trick up here, make sure to remember to cut that one off. Get those little plastic clips down there that the other wires go into. I went ahead and moved my jack up so I can get to this P-clamp bolt down here. It's going to be a 9/16. And because of the angle of this, either way, if I'd have ran my bolt up or down, not really going to be able to get a socket on it. And you're supposed to torque this to 20 to 25 foot-pounds. So what we're going to do, tighten it up and give it one hand ugga-dugga. So right now in this stage of the install, the hard part's done. And it really wasn't even that hard. It does help if you got an extra set of hands, but you can do this by yourself. Now that we've got everything tightened up, we're gonna take some rubbing alcohol and an old rag. I think their instructions probably say like Windex or soap and water, but basically you wanna get all of the fingerprints off this pipe, or any oils, greases, stuff like that that may be on here. Just be real careful when you're putting these on, because you have to spread these bands apart, and you don't want to be smacking this pipe all over your brake pedal and scratching it all up. So we're going to push these all the way through, kind of spread them, get it on there. I'll do this back one just like that, and then you can kind of just set it on there. Get the top one on, get the back one on, but we got it. Ooh. This tip has holes all the way around it, so we want to orientate it with these two holes, but the Khrome Werks logo is at the top and this is on the outside edge. Most of the times these, once you get these tips in, they're hard to turn. So I want to get it as lined up with those holes as I possibly can before I actually like knock it in there. Just like that. My holes are perfectly lined up. Your hardware kit's going to come with 2 black, 2 of these Eclipse colored screws, which is very cool, and 2 chrome ones. So we're going to grab our Eclipse. It's going to be a 3.5 Allen. So we're going to put our exhaust clamp on here, making sure the nut is facing down. So make sure it's orientated the correct way. Slide the slip on in. Make sure you're not smacking your axle nut back here. But we're going to get this lined up, get it over the pipe. I'm going to come back here, straighten it where I want it, and then just start wiggling it in. I've got the pipe on, I've got some rags on the end. I'm just going to give it a shove until I get this the rest of the way on. We need it kind of in the center of those two where that plate goes on there and pulls that up. So now that I have it in place, I can go ahead, put my silver plate back on here, and I can grab my 2 bolts that we took out the first time. Go ahead and pull the pipe up into place, start these 2 bolts. But if you look at this plate, it can slide from this bolt to this bolt, in and out. So you just want to adjust it so all of this stuff is behind that collector cover. So what I'm going to do now is spin this up into place and just tighten it down so it'll stay where I want it. Let's try it again. Still need to come back a little bit with the exhaust. Right there. So that actually covers this really good, and it covers the exhaust. This torque's 38 to 43 foot-pounds. Right there. Get our collector cover back on here. Make sure nothing moved. We're good. But once again, it's super important before you start the bike to get all of these fingerprints off this pipe. So once again, long bolt in the front, short bolt in the rear. We're going to add our new Loctite on here. Get this up here. Get this one started. Don't push it in all the way. Go ahead and poke your rear bolt through. Little blue Loctite. So that's it. Hopefully that cold start and that drive-by and takeoffs and all that really helped you get a grasp on how it sounds. Like I said in the beginning of this video, we're not jumping into torque and horsepower gains and all that, because on this bike, it's basically just a stage one. Called and talked to a Harley Davidson tech just yesterday morning, and he said the same thing. The bikes that they're getting in there and they're doing a little bit of engine work to it, and they're doing that 2-into-1. So basically stage 2, stage 3 or higher. Putting that Khrome Werks 2-into-1 pipe on there, they're making some pretty big numbers, which it absolutely should. It has a 3-step header on it. It's a 2.5 into 4.5 inch exhaust. Don't be fooled by the people out there saying that there's no baffles in there. There are baffles in there. It's a half baffle system. If you look down that pipe, you'll see that half of it is straight pipe and half of it is perforated. That's your baffles. It also has a 3.5 inch reverse cone in there that helps with the torque. Now from here, we will have to do a tune on this bike. This is going to go back up to Harley Davidson because it is brand new. It has a factory warranty on it. So we're going to be taking this back up to Harley, and we're going to have them put the Screaming Eagle tuner on there just so it doesn't red flag the warranty. So let me know in the comment section down below if you've ever heard about Khrome Werks. Maybe you've seen some dyno sheets on the Khrome Werks, different engine builds and stuff. I know there's some YouTube videos out there that actually show some dyno stuff with the Khrome Werks pipe. But let me know your own personal experience with it, if you have any, down in the comment section down below. I hope this video helped you, and if it did, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to our channel. Over 250 Bagger Softail related install and service videos as of right now. Tell your friends about us. I'm going to get out of here, get myself back to work. I hope to see you in the next video, but until then, as always, be safe. Keep your knees in the breeze. Hey, thanks for stopping by and checking out our videos today. If you like what you see, make sure you hit that like button, hit the little subscribe button popping up over here. If you want to check out more of our content, I've got 2 videos right here that'll get you started. Not really going to say anything else, just click one of those videos and take you to another video.